conducting an interview with Lawrence Roy Burbank. And Mr. Burbank, could you please tell us your address?
My address is 3200 Teapot Dome Drive in Manchester, Maryland.
Okay, and where was your place of birth?
Topeka, Kansas.
And your birth date?
26 September 36.
Okay, and what branch of service were you involved in?
U.S. Army.
U.S. Army? And were you commissioned, enlisted, or drafted?
I was a commissioned warrant officer. I was not drafted, I was a volunteer.
Okay, and your service dates?
16 November 53 to 30 September 96.
Okay, and if you could just list a few of your unit divisions, and we've had a lot.
Sure, I'll go through. I enlisted while I was still in high school in the Kansas Guard with the 127th Field Artillery Battalion. It was a component of the 35th Division. And then later on, I transferred into a truck company. Then in 1960, this truck company was reorganized into a helicopter unit. And that opened up a lot of opportunity to us. And then in 1961, I went to flight school at Fort Walters, Texas. Ended up in Fort Rucker, Alabama. Graduated from flight school in October of 61. 3 days later, I went into Fort Houston, Virginia to the test pilot course and graduated from that in September of 62. And then in 66 to 68, I was with the 169th Aviation Company, part of the 69th Infantry Brigade. And then in 69, I went overseas as there was 4,000 of us called up out of Kansas, and I was called up as an individual aviator. And I served at the Cu Chi, South Vietnam, with the 242nd Aviation Company. They were called the Mule Schooners. I returned from Vietnam in 60, went back in the 69th Brigade, stayed in the 69th Brigade until 1980, and then we formed a new Black Hawk unit in Kansas. I went to the 108th Aviation Company. Stayed there until 1989, and then went to the National Guard Bureau in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon, stayed there until I retired. So that's basically a nutshell.
Lots of stuff. Okay, and prior to entering the service, what were you involved in?
Prior to entering the service, I was basically a Kansas farm boy.
Really? Okay. And could you give us some details about your family, such as like number of siblings, and then you said you were twins?
Okay, I'm a twin. I'm 7 minutes older than my twin brother. He's still in Kansas, and I have a son in Korea. He's a major. I have a son in Kansas that runs a furniture store, and a daughter that teaches school in Kansas. And then I have a son in Baltimore. He's a Baltimore fire. He actually got promoted to a battalion fire chief about 6 weeks ago. Then I have a son that works with Conawago in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Then we have a daughter in Orlando, Florida. So we're kind of scattered. And out of that group, we have 14 grandchildren.
Wow.
Everybody's healthy.
Yeah. And I know you said your son is in South Korea. Are there any of your other family members in the service?
He's the only one that followed me.
He's the only one?
Yeah. He's doing real well.
Okay. And what year were you commissioned into the Army?
I was commissioned the 13th of October, 1960. 1960.
Okay. And what was your departure for training camp like? And what was your time spent there like?
Oh, it was exciting as a kid. Of course it was tough. And as a lower enlisted man, you got doing the, the menial task, But you look at your sergeant and say, well, someday. So it all worked out.
Yeah. And did you have any specialized training?
Oh yes, I was an Army aviator. That's very special. I was a flight instructor, very special. I was a maintenance officer and test pilot.
Can you tell us about some of your experiences doing all that?
Oh, there's so many experiences I could hardly name them all, but probably the most satisfying experience of all is when you can use your talent to help your neighbor.
And what was it like adapting to military life?
Well, it wasn't bad at all. Living in a rural area in Kansas, we were not spoiled. We were used to hard work, and just easy to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Really was.
And what areas of Vietnam did you serve in?
Cu Chi in South Vietnam. It was northwest of Saigon at Highway 1, about 30 miles. It was the birthplace of Ho Chi Minh.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And were you involved in any combat situations? Can you tell us about some of those?
Well, yes, we put up, our company put up 8 Chinooks every day. And we would fly all the way from 100 to 140 hours a month in the combat role. And we saw everything, good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. What were some of the emotions you felt while in these combat situations?
Well, the most difficult is family separation. And after about, I'd say 30 days or so, it gets to become routine and it becomes a job, and you're just trying to get your job accomplished so you can go home. But
Speaking of that, how were you able to stay in touch with family and friends back home?
very difficult back in the 60s. By letters was all, we had free postage. We didn't have, of course, email or didn't have a telephone, so it was very difficult. So communication was, we did have a TV in the officers club. We'd catch the news about 3 days late.
And Vietnam was a guerrilla war. Were you prepared for the tactics of guerrilla warfare?
I feel that we were. We went through guerrilla training before we went over there. We had what we call combat villages, just like they have today for Iraq. And we went through those. We went through survival training. And I think we were prepared.
And you said that you served in the Tet Offensive. Can you tell us about that?
Well, that's where it's an ongoing offensive where the NVA was supported the local, the local guerrilla force. And it's just like any war, it's difficult to determine who is the adversary. And the same thing today. And we're in their turf, and it's hard to, you try to do the right thing. Always do.
And was this your first time traveling outside of the U.S. when you went over?
My first time traveling out of the U.S. was, I think it was, I think outside the U.S. it was my Vietnam tour. Yeah. I spent a lot of time throughout the U.S., but going overseas, that was my first time.
What was that like for you? Were you excited about it?
Well, not really.
Yeah.
Got on an airplane in Kansas City with about 300 guys, and we went through Wake Island and Hawaii and dropped off. And it was hot.
Yeah, really. Rainy too.
Yeah.
Did you form any friendships while you were serving? Can you tell us about some of those?
Oh, you do. Probably military friendships are lasting. They really are. So we still communicate today.
Yeah. And what did you do for recreation while you were
in tour? Oh, we didn't have a whole lot. We just did our work. Didn't do much recreation at all. No.
Okay, so given the turbulence of the era, how did your family react to your Vietnam service?
Oh, they were okay. Of course, like I said earlier, family separation is the worst part of that. It's the same thing. I have a letter from my son that he's having the same problem today.
Oh, really? And while serving, were you aware of like the political unrest going on back in the United States?
We were. We could understand it really because today is totally different. When we came home, hardly anybody knew we were gone, and we were not welcome at all. Today they're welcomed, which is neat. It really is. It's a good turnaround.
And how did you feel about the protests going on back at home?
Well, of course we didn't like it, but everybody, it's a free country, and so it's part of what we fight for.
Yeah. And could you tell me about your best experience?
Bad?
No, your best.
Oh, my best.
Yeah.
My best experience in the combat was, of course, flying those big Chinooks and helping our people. And we would take the natives with us at times. And believe it or not, if I take that big machine and land it, there would be men, women, and children get on the machine, maybe 50 of them. And then there'd be a big ball of twine full of everything for food. And we'd even have chickens and pigs on that aircraft.
Oh, wow.
And we'd take that aircraft out to their home that they're going to be there for, an outpost. Of course, our folks were, securing the outpost. So that was a good experience to be able to support the local people.
Yeah, definitely. And what was your worst experience?
I guess the worst experience was getting tight. Landing zone. Hot.
Yeah. Let's see. Where were you when the war ended?
I was back home. That was 1975.
And how did you return home?
They put me to back that big old Chinook, took me to Tan Son Nhut in South Vietnam, right out of Saigon, and we off-boarded from the Chinook right into a commercial airliner and departed.
Yeah, what was the reception from your family and the community like? I know you said...
Oh, I would say the community as a whole, the small rural community back in the Midwest, they were okay. They really supported me in our unit. But I think it's the bigger cities that had the problem. It really was. And I went through the riots of '68 with everybody else. Of course, we had riots in here, And I flew and looked down at the riots and this sort of thing. But when we got back, our community was okay. Small community, very well.
Okay. What was it like readjusting to civilian life?
Not bad, because I was in the guard. I was full time, and it just like shifting gears. No problem.
Yeah. And I know you said you made a lot of friends in the service. Have you stayed in contact with a lot of them?
Yeah, we do.
Do you get together all as like family?
Yeah, we have a reunion every year.
And are you a member of any veterans organizations?
I'm a member of MOAA, Quad A, and Vietnam. Life member of VSW, and they're good organizations. They really are.
And can you compare the support given to today's servicemen compared to when you served?
I think today is probably, even though we get some adverse publicity, I think today we're doing a good job. I've received nothing but excellent care with the military.
That's
Really.
And have you visited the Vietnam Memorial?
Yes, several times. In fact, a friend of mine who also flew Chinooks in Vietnam, we went to the 25th anniversary last November. It was great. It really was.
And how has your wartime experience affected your life?
My work habits? The military really enhances your personal life and work habits. There's just no comparison to what it will do for you. It really will. In one respect, you would, learning what you know now, you may not want to do it. There's a Chinook right now. But you would not want to miss out. Because we were able to do things and see things in this world that most people dream about. And that's the advantage of the military life.
And any life lessons you learned from your military service?
Any what?
Life lessons?
Oh, I think the best lesson we could learn in the military service is to treat everybody alike. Yeah. And no matter what business we're in, we're in the people business. There's no doubt about it. You really are.
And are there any like stories you want to tell us about?
Oh, you know, there's a lot of stories, but they take a lot of time.
Yeah, well, you can tell us one or two.
Oh, probably one of the best stories, just a family story, is my dad. He really thought my machine was good.
Yeah.
In fact, years ago, this was in about '63, and it wasn't against the rules then. I took one of my helicopters out and landed on this farm.
That's funny.
That was really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I showed him all about it. And being a farmer, he was really impressed.
He was real supportive of you.
Yeah, good family support.
That's good.
Yeah, and my son today has good family support.
It's important.
So that's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. But I would do it again, without a doubt. Because how else would I see the whole country and the whole world? And I got paid to fly. You know, there's a trade-off. They pay you to fly and give you all this high-dollar training, but you're at a high risk. And here's something I can show you.
Can't read this one. A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who, at one point in their life, wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including their life. That's really
Pretty good. Yeah. And see, a lot of people don't realize that the military person is, sometimes they don't know what they're getting into. Once they get in there, they say, what am I doing here? But most of them, well, it's better for being in there. And I've seen young people just wondering what I'm going to do with my life. They get out of high school and they have no guidance, no track, and the military will turn them around. They really will. And most of our sergeants are good with their people. But overall, it's been a good life. I'm retired, and not only do they recognize I'm retired with a disability, and they pay me for that. They give me a military retirement, and we have a good medical program. So there's some benefits down the line. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's hard to explain that to them. Yeah. But overall, right now I've been retired 12 years, and I feel good. I really do. And I appreciate you taking your time. And well, if you'd like, we'll go into my office and I'll show you some of those other awards I hang on the wall.
Okay, I'd like to see
Okay,
those.
thank you, Al.
Thank you. Alright.
This is an aviation survival vest. In this vest we have radios, communications, survival equipment. Of course we have a couple of knives, put a shoulder harness on this thing for a weapon. And we have our compass, which we stick in here. And the unique thing about this is we can extract a downed aviator from a jungle canopy. And the kids, when I go out to high schools or grade schools for briefings, they get a kick out of this. So you don this, and get in there. You zip it up like so, and then adjust it to your size one of these. And then the aircraft has a rescue hoist. With that rescue hoist down from the aircraft, you get hold of the rescue hoist and you snap it. And here's what we call a D-ring. And you snap this D-ring, tug on it, and they'll
That's so neat.
take you right out of the. We can lift out a double canopy, but we can't do a triple. It's too much for a triple.
Yeah.
But this is, of course, you fly in this. You know, and you fly with what we call a chicken plate. The chicken plate is just inside of this. And it's a bulletproof plate.
That's good to have. So did they attach a parachute to that, or?
Helicopters do not use parachutes.
Oh, really?
Because of the rotor blade.
Oh,
yeah. No, we do not use those. Okay, Allie, here's you asked to look at a uniform with the medals on it. And that's kind of, there's 2 or 3 that's not in there, but that's kind of what it was when I retired.
Okay. So that's like these things, right?
Yeah. So,
you want to tell us about some of our medals, or your medals?
well, these are accommodation medals. I have about, well, of this particular one, I have 18 different devices. In other words, instead of giving you a new medal every time, they give you a little device. But here's one here, tiny little thing, and that you put that on over the, it'll say like 15 or 16 or whatever. And these are all just little accommodation medals. This is from a Quad A, and it's something if you want to dress up sometime. It's a, you see what that says? Yeah.
It's an interesting picture.
It's Order of St. Michael. Of course, St. Michael was a kind of an aviator nut. And you wear this over your neck if you're going to go to a hoorah of some kind. This is the original set of aviator wings I received in October '61, Fort Rucker. So I just kept those. And these are all meritorious service. They're all different, but they're just.
Are there any stories behind any of these medals?
Oh, there is, but
some?
I can. It takes a long time.
That's fine. We have all the time.
Yeah, it takes a long time. Let's see. It was this one. I was still in the Kansas Guard at that time. It was I was in western Kansas. We had 2 18-inch snows back to back, so that makes what, 36 inches? High wind, and it shut down 3 counties.
Wow.
And so the only thing that was moving was our helicopters. And of course, with storms comes sickness, as well as cattle get sick and people get sick. And they had a young fella that was on a dialysis machine, and he was about past his date to where he couldn't survive. They couldn't get to him. Nobody would go get him. So.
You went and got them? And that's how you got that? Wow, that's really neat. That must feel amazing.
Yeah, this is the there's a bronze star. That's just part of it. Movement. This is that's about my favorite. This is well, it's a Distinguished Flying Cross, and this is probably the highest award for an aviator.
How did you get that one?
Oh, we were on the DMZ, not the DMZ, but the boundary between Cambodia and Vietnam. We put a fire support base in. That's what we did for these big Chinooks. We'd haul a crew. We put a 105 howitzer in its basic load, and we'd take them out and set up these fire support bases. Fire support base was a kind of a round, like a wagon train in the old cowboy days, you know. And we would put these howitzers in the center of this thing to protect the perimeter. And we didn't realize it, but at the time, there's an NVA battalion just waiting on us. And we went ahead and we did our job, left, and all up to us, as the flight crew, was just a job. I guess somebody thought we did a big job, so we, And this is the Legion of Merit. This is for so many years in the service, and it's actually higher on the grade, the pecking order than that, but I thought like.
That's your favorite.
I could tell a lot of stories, but a lot of those stories are in that book.
Well, do you want to move over to these then?
And,
You can tell me some of those.
Well, let's see. Here's some old ones. I don't know, are we too close to that? Okay, now you asked me some stories. This is my first annual training site in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin in 1954. So this shows all of our, we would call slick sleeves, privates in those days. And this shows all of us in there. My twin brother's in here. And it's just a group shot of us.
And that was 1954?
And that's spring of 54.
How old were you there?
I had just turned 17.
17.
17.
Wow.
I was so young that my parents had to sign for me. See, they wouldn't allow us to get in at that age. And of course, that annual training was not a whole lot of fun. A lot of work.
Very hard.
This shows a group when we went to the transportation battalion, and this shows the whole group of us. And this is the old Ike jacket. Have you ever heard of Eisenhower? And had the Ike jacket?
Yeah.
Okay. We at that time still had brown boots and Ike jacket. This shows an old, as a general back in Kansas. He was a World War I and World War II vet.